The Engrossment Rules Resolution and Credentials Committee meeting is called to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderwoman Howard.
Present.
Alderman Ornowitz.
Present.
Alderwoman Green.
She is excused.
Alderman Todd.
Present.
Chairwoman Titus.
Present.
4 present, you have quorum.
Okay, next order of business, we already excused Alderwoman Green. Approval of the minutes, which were the minutes of Wednesday, December 4th and Wednesday, December 11th, 2019.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
We don't have a previous roll. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderman Ornowitz.
Aye.
Alderwoman Green. Alderman Todd.
Aye.
Chairwoman Titus.
Aye.
4 ayes votes.
Okay. So our first board bill is Board Bill number 107, sponsored by Alderman John Muhammad, which is an ordinance directing the City of St. Louis Police Division to reestablish 9 police districts, the boundaries of which shall be drawn in accordance with the map set forth in Exhibit A, and to the extent the Commissioner of the City of St. Louis Division of Police deem reasonable and appropriate in light of changing community and law enforcement, they're able to change the district slightly, not in any major way, but the whole intent of this is to tell them to go back to the 9 districts. And it's Board Bill 107.
So we don't need a copy of the map?
It's on the back.
Oh, it is?
Should be attached. It was. Look at the bill. This is which one we're getting.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
He put it on the informal calendar? Oh, okay, so.
Oh, he did put it on the informal calendar?
Okay,
Well,
good.
I just want to say there should be a fiscal note because
Okay.
I'm sure there'll be a cost of increased supervisors and how many,
Why
I
do we
guess
have
my.
this?
I have no idea.
Okay, we just do what's before us.
Exactly.
So he moved it to the informal
He did.
calendar.
Okay, Board Bill 107, was
Okay, well, then
mistakenly
we take no
before us.
action, that's easy.
So that, I'll write informal, okay?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
As you can see, we rely on you all.
What happened to my pen? I brought the wrong thing in here.
You need a pen.
If you
Oh,
don't mind,
such
I'll
a
borrow
gentleman.
that.
Oh, my God.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I came
Okay.
with the highlighter, but I forgot my pen.
Okay, let me make sure my phone is down. I think I turned it down. Nope. I was in church the other day, boy, and everybody had their phones going off. So much the minister said, okay, this is like the 3rd time.
Got scolded.
Yes. Okay, the second board bill we have before us is Board Bill 120, sponsored by Alderman Muhammad, Alderwoman Davis, Alderman Carl, Alderwoman Engross, and Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. And it's an ordinance prohibiting employees in the city of St. Louis, employers in the city of St. Louis from basing job hiring on or promotion decision on an applicant's criminal history. Does that one pass?
Yeah, I'm gonna double check with Terry, but that was put in on the informal calendar, so you all wouldn't get it.
Okay.
Okay.
But what about
This one
What
is?
about
No.
120?
Let me see.
So now I want to ask. I know 2020 is, we got to get back into this. So we're okay with 120? Mm-hmm. Okay, all right.
That's
Okay.
back on the informal too?
No.
No,
Oh,
no, we're
okay.
okay with that. So the only way that they are able to inquire into a criminal history is if the employer can demonstrate the relevance in the employment relation decision, or where the employers are required to exclude applicants with certain criminal convictions due to local, state, or federal law. Now, this only prohibits them at the beginning. They are allowed to still look into it later, but this is a prohibition so as to give people, once they serve their time, to get them past they call it mark the box. So that's what this board bill is, 120.
Madam Chair, there are some
Okay, some problems, good, okay. Alderwoman from the 14th,
Okay, line 16 is blank
on what page?
on page 1.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Line 18 is blank on page 4. Oh, line 6 and 18 on page 4.
yes.
And
Same thing on part 5, line 14.
line 14
And-
and 6, 3.
Yes,
Okay, now, there is another error on page 2, line 17. I don't know why we're dealing with Coloradans.
because they took this from somebody else's. Okay, so
That needs to come.
that is a, okay. That's correct, that's another, we're gonna bring you up to date in a minute. This one has lots of errors. And where did this go to? Where did this come from? Can you tell where this board bill came from, 120 for substitute? Because I'm gonna start sending,
I got a problem with, I'm not sure what line 14, page 3 means. Publish job advertisements excluding applicants
I
on the
think
basis of
that's
criminal
legal.
history.
Yeah, but what
regardless of
committee?
whether
Because they, what did you
Such
say?
advertisements are in hard copy or.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Alderwoman?
I'm sorry.
Page 3 or 2?
Page 3 of 6, line 14, I'm not sure that makes sense. It just isn't making sense to me. It's either an incomplete sentence.
It shall be prohibited for employers located in the city of St. Louis with 10 or more employees too. So they enumerated. So we're talking, publish job advertisements excluding applicants on the basis of criminal history. And that's a comma, regardless of whether such advertisements are in hard copy or electronic format. And, yeah, I think if you go back up to the,
Okay.
to the.
To read that, yeah.
Right, at the
Okay.
beginning,
Okay.
colon, so they are enumerated, and it's then, right,
It's
then
a
it makes
list,
sense,
yeah.
right.
Okay. Yeah, it didn't stand alone to make sense.
Right.
And I guess finally, fiscal note. What is it gonna cost the license collector to enforce this? And have we conferred with the license collector about this?
I thought they took it out of that. Is it still in here?
It's, the license collector is responsible for enforcement.
I thought they took that.
Section 2 on page 4.
Because that's what, I thought, is this the floor substitute?
Yeah, that's what it says.
I could almost swear on the floor we did something different. Because she had concerns about.
Yeah, I'm just, I mean, I don't know. My
thought that
question
was
is has she been consulted?
Yeah, and she was not supporting it, and I thought that on the floor of the
I
board.
think we have a license collector that has their hands full making sure businesses are licensed.
Could you go, the Alderman is here, we need to talk to him.
Okay.
Because, exactly, I thought we moved it to somebody else that agreed to do it. In fact, I thought that we moved it to, Charles Bryson's division.
Well, here's civil rights enforcement. Do they have powers of enforcement? That's the other question that I have, is does civil rights, are they just an investigative unit?
They have they're the investigative union.
Because I know
Right.
when we were talking about the whistleblower, they don't have any enforcement rights.
Right,
So who would be the they can enforce the civil rights. I mean, they
Right,
can
they can
investigate.
investigate it, right.
But who's going to actually penalize the people that
that
they
is a
found?
good question. But I'm just saying here, it is right to send it to them for the
That's fine,
investigation.
as long as he's on board with it.
Right,
And that's the other question is, the license collector and Mr. Bryson, are they both apprised of
is he
this?
still here?
No, ma'am, I had Sherry to call.
Okay,
He was here.
I just looked in his office, he's not here now.
okay. And we do need a fiscal note. And when I talked to her, I thought that they had taken this out because I don't know that we can change the duties of the license collector.
Right.
Yeah.
Because she's a
A county
county office.
office, yeah. I guess if she chose to do so, she could.
Right, but I don't know if we have the right to do that. Okay, this is going to the bottom, to be looked at later.
And that 107,
Mhm.
you all actually would have to review it, because he suspended the rules, so it never came through your committee anyway.
Okay,
So you can go back to it.
okay, but I'm gonna tell you what other
Okay.
problems. There are,
That line.
on page 1 of 6, line 16, there is a big gap there.
Are we talking about what, 107?
Yes, I'm gonna just bring her up to date, the problem, 120, the
Okay,
ones that you
okay,
said, okay? On page 2, we got, okay, so the lines are on page, let me just go through all the places where there's an extra line. Page 1 of 6, line 16, page 4 of 6, lines 6 and 18, page 5 of 6, line 14, page 6 of 6, line 13. There's all like a big gap and there's a line there. Then when you go back to page 2 of 6, line 17, so it is vital that Coloradans with criminal history, I don't think that we're making laws for Colorado.
Okay.
So that should be St. Louisans, I think.
Yes.
I would
And
expect.
right. Then on page 4 of 6, we have real questions about the Office of the License Collector, if that is actually who's gonna do the enforcement of this. And if it is, then we need a fiscal note, page 4 of 6,
Okay,
section, lines 7
Okay.
through 13.
And then don't we also have to check with Charles Bryce?
No, he can investigate. It
No,
doesn't
but I'm
say-
saying, do we have to check to make sure is he?
On board
Can
with
we, yeah, can we?
No, we can tell him
we
to
can direct
investigate,
him.
that's part of
Okay.
his, but now,
Okay,
and he can recommend it to complaints to the license collector again, but he doesn't have any enforcement, and they doesn't say in here that he has enforcement, just that he investigates.
And forwards what he finds.
Back to the license collector.
if she chooses to
Right.
provide that enforcement.
So, that's okay. So those were the problems, we need a fiscal note.
And
Okay,
I guess here's the other question.
okay? Still have a full.
On page 5, line 11, it says, "The Office of the License to adopt rules and policy procedures imposing the penalties in section 3 of this ordinance and shall present said rules to the Legislation Committee of the Board of Aldermen." I think they should have already been presented and be a big part of this, don't you?
I do. I talked to the Madam License Collector. That's why I guess.
I don't see that she's, I mean, I haven't spoke with her personally,
I
but
did.
I've talked with her on other issues, and it's like, I don't think she's looking for work. think she
Even
has
if we can't
plenty.
give her work, then we need to be able to.
If she's willing to do so.
And we also need to be able to finance this. That's the whole thing about fiscal
Exactly,
notes,
and, yeah, exactly.
Okay. So,
Unfunded mandates.
right, exactly.
Okay.
So. And so he suspended, okay, so we're gonna put this at the bottom. We're gonna go back to 107. And you said that we did what? That he suspended the rules?
Yes, ma'am.
But did we perfect it and pass it out?
It was on perfection.
Which one is
And
this?
what is, 107, the one that we put away, the first one.
Police?
Yep, he perfected it, and then that's when he wanted to put it on
The informal calendar?
Right,
Yes,
he
I
pulled it
remember
back
the last
because
meeting,
People
yes.
was on board at first.
Right.
And then when he tried to do the
Move it up,
final-
that's right, that's correct, okay. So it's not on, it's on the informal calendar, but it was perfected, so
Right.
it is
Right.
properly before us.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna go back to 107. And also this bill of redistricting the police back requires them to implement this within 180 days following the effective date of this ordinance. We can go through this if we find any problems. I think that the problem was that people wanted him some changes to this, and I think they wanted him to give more time. So I believe this is probably gonna come before us again. I don't think it's
Well, I
gonna be
think,
third
I
read.
think there should be a fiscal note attached
Okay.
to this, because if we're asking for more, if you deploy people differently, you're gonna have to have more supervision. And I have concerns about taking patrolmen off the street.
And promoting them for supervisor.
I mean,
We already have enough
we're already-
supervisors. We
That's,
were-
that's to me
We can just
like-
take them out from downtown and put them back in the.
Right.
So I was here when they went from 9, and they promised us it would be better policing. Every time they've made it different, it has not turned out to
There's a
what they
whole lot of
said.
things, we're just in a different,
I know, but I'm just saying, they talk about community policing. Community policing was much better when we had the 9 districts, and you knew who your sergeants and captains were, and you could walk up to your local thing.
but we don't have the population we had then.
I
either.
understand.
So, but what I'm saying is we need a fiscal note for this.
I agree.
We need to know, the number of personnel it will take, the cost of deployment, and then, like you said, 180 days, what does that come up to, about 6 months?
So I think they wanted to have the police weigh in more. But the fiscal note is the main
And
thing.
as I remember, I think this was in public safety, and they had said.
It was.
And they, actually, I think, Chief Hayden had asked that he be allowed to finish this study that they were doing and finish his
I was there.
assessment of the computer data systems.
I actually testified against him. Chief Hayden was my major, and he was been my captain, and he's from my ward. I testified against him because he also testified that he had known when Dotson did this was not a good idea, and that he's been the chief for 2 years, and he had not done anything about it. So,
Okay. Well, I mean-
and I encouraged the people to pass it on out, because I think there needs to be a fire put under him. I agree with you.
Well,
It should be a
Fiscal
note. But the waiting for the studies and things like that. To me that.
Well,
should
I mean,
be
by now
right.
he should have it.
That's exactly, and he's my really good friend, but
No,
I'm
but I
unhappy
mean,
with, right.
he asked
If you
for
tell me that you
time-
know something from 2 years ago
That was
was
in
wrong.
September, October.
Right,
He said that he needed a little more time, so by
Right.
now he should have all that finished, and maybe
Right.
he can give us a fiscal note.
and it
of
still
what this
gives him
will cost.
another 6 months to
Right.
do it, so.
So,
I'm gonna ask him for a fiscal note, if he can get a fiscal note, to us, then, if there are no other problems, let's look at this, then we can pass it out, subject to him getting a fiscal note.
And I would like a designation of how many additional personnel and where they're gonna be deployed, how they're gonna be deployed. In other words, do we need more captains? Do we need more sergeants? Are we gonna have more white shirts?
You know what, something I'm starting to look at?
Do you think,
Yeah.
is that reasonable?
Oh, yeah, but I'm looking at something I saw in the other one, and I think was a good idea. The one that was before us, prepared by Lou Golly, I think on this summary page, we should have a prepared by. See where I like this. See that?
Oh, okay.
So-
On all of them?
All of them,
Okay.
the summary front
As
page.
a matter of form, yeah.
Right,
Okay.
and so I'm gonna say, we would like to find out who prepares these things.
Right.
That makes it much easier for who we have to deal with.
Track down.
Right. I think that's a great idea.
And that's standard format, is what we're asking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I'm telling the clerk's office, that we want to know when they come before us, because none of the other ones have it, who prepared this. So if it's a law firm, we want to know that. If it's Lou Golly, if it's the city councilor, we want to know who prepared it. And you can use this Board Bill 124 substitute as an example. Okay.
And I guess one more thing I'm gonna ask for in this 107 is where, if we can get a crime map that, with these districts overlaid.
We can ask for that, but that
I
isn't
don't know
part
if
of the board bill. We can ask for it, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But the board bill, fiscal note, is very much called for.
Right.
But the crime map, if that would be if the police can get that to us and get it over. and that wouldn't be, you're looking for an overlay, is that what you're looking for?
Like an overlay of crime in on these maps, just to kind of see if this is still appropriate.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, one of the reasons I really supported it, right now with the change, I'm at the edge of 5th District. And I told this to the chief, I told it to the public safety director. We get no policing because it's all in the central quarter. And the police chief told me that when the South Side Alderman said the same thing, I could ride through and now it won't be, but Culpeppers is right there. When you ride down Euclid, the police are always sitting at Culpeppers. I guess they're closed now. But soon as you get, but I'm just saying, we get no policing. But every day I go down there just to see. Oh, and for all these years, for these last couple of years, they were always there. But by being on the edge of the Central West End, we get no policing. So
I guess the thing is that that's another issue that we're paying off-duty police.
that's something that needs to be addressed because, there are some laws about how many hours you can work, and we're letting our police work overtime, which is probably breaking the law about how many hours you can work, okay? And really, we should...
Well, that's off to another...
I know. Okay, so we did call Alderman? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're gonna put this back to the bottom, and we need a fiscal note, and you would like an overlay, but that's not,
If
we can get it for crime, okay?
But for sure, we need the fiscal note, and then now what about personnel, breakout of personnel, how much more personnel?
But that will be kind of the thing of the fiscal note, an estimate, of what we're gonna need, right?
And will it detail positions?
No, it won't. A fiscal note will be, this is what it's, right, it's just the overall, this is what it's gonna cost us. That will really have to be decided by the police chief, who will have to come back, and that's what the...
And they don't need any more white shirts.
Correct.
No, that's
correct. We already have exactly. And that's giving them 180 days, that's the 6 months. Then he could come back and tell us this is what we're doing. But they have way enough police, and then when they say they don't have enough police, they don't count that we have the cadets that we pay to be police.
And we don't count people on leave either.
Right, so all of that is, that's why we had the miscommunication between the mayor and the personnel director, because he gave us the correct count. And if I get the printouts, so I see how many people we pay to be the police. So they always put 90 people short.
Well, but you gotta think of it this way too. What's the academy class nowadays? 6, 7 months? So you graduate, let's say average 30.
Right.
You'll have more than that that's gonna retire and everything else. Yeah,
Plus, you have to put them
So you're always spinning the wheel.
newbies
But
aren't by
one time
themselves.
we never had majors in the city.
No.
Captains did what majors do.
And we could get rid of some of that. The white coat thing is an issue that we really need to look at. I would prefer to put them back out on the street, so I agree, okay? And that's the kind of thing, though, that the police chief and the public safety director and personnel would have to decide. And I think they would have to come back and say, this is what we're doing. But the fiscal note is just an overall, is it gonna cost us anything? I don't think it would cost us too much, if anything. Using the personnel we got, it might be a little here and there, but like you, Alderman from the 12th always rides with them and talks about how many white shirts we have. Way more than what we had when we had a bigger city. And then to talk about that we have majors and things like that we didn't used to have. And that kind of came along with the superstations. Okay, when we asked, when Clarence Harmon became the police chief, that's when they went to the superstations. And the total board of Alderman was against it then. We just could not do anything because they were under the state
control.
Right.
Okay, but since that time, each time, then Dotson came back and did it right before we took over control. No, well, he did it. We had control, but he assured us, oh, this is going to be great. It has not been great. So I want to know if we keep doing this and it's not doing what we agreed to do and it's not doing what the police chief is saying, at what point do we say, well, this doesn't work and let's do something different? So this may not be the best thing, but sometimes this is a wake-up call to...
Well, see where it goes.
I say sell superstations, let's put money back in the old districts.
Well, some of them, the
Some are
districts...
gone.
Some are gone.
Right.
But it'd be just as cheap to build a new station.
Well, even to that point, though, we can also just, while we have them, it still can go back to, we had 3 districts in each one of them. So you could still operate out of them, but then they went to a lot of substations and everything like that. So I never understood how they thought that was successful, because if you get rid of the stations, but you go to every little place that's got a substation, that never worked properly to me. And it's that no one wanted to say, we tried, it didn't work, let's try something else and let's review it. Everybody kicked it down the road, and so we're dealing with it now.
Well, and I think that by this time, Chief Hayden should have appropriate data to deliver a response to this.
And did anyone read the article that was in the paper over the weekend of the holiday?
Yep.
Okay.
So,
All right,
maybe
so-
he has more accurate data with the new system.
Yes, okay, now the next thing we have is Board Bill 132, which is introduced by Alderwoman Tamika Hubbard. And this one is kind of easy. It's a board bill to create the honorary street named Carly Klossway in recognition of a fashion model entrepreneur and CEO of Code with Carly. And it's at the intersection of Washington and North 16th Street.
We got
We got a lot of blank lines.
Again. I
On
know.
page 1 of 3, line 4.
Okay, Alderman,
I'm sorry.
we're gonna,
11.
you're the senior alderperson here?
I am.
No,
Harold.
Howard is, so I'm sorry,
Harold.
the senior alderperson goes first, okay?
Okay.
Alderwoman Howard, I'm sorry if nothing's.
Oh,
clear
that's
for you.
fine.
As the Alderman from the 12th mentioned, page 1, line 4, 8,
Yes.
11, 14, 19
Yes,
are blank. Page 2, line 5, 8, 10, 14 are blank.
yes,
And I would like to request a map for these, so that people know where these are. I mean, the description is one thing, but I think
we can ask her for one. I know where Washington and 16th is.
I do too,
okay,
but I
so
think it's
I mean,
appropriate.
but I don't think it's a reason to hold, we can just
No,
ask
no.
ask to
Yes,
attach.
attach a map.
Okay. Any other?
And can we have that as a matter of form?
We can. So second thing we want, besides who did it, we want maps attached. Oh, this crowd is gonna be tough for 2020.
If we can be picky, let's be picky.
Okay.
I think it's, I mean, for
Should be
general
right.
knowledge, yeah.
Right,
So I'm sorry, so you wanna know who prepared the
yes.
bill?
And also, we want a map.
On anything that
Right.
describes a geographic location.
Okay, do you have any other problems with this bill?
No, other than the,
Okay, Alderman Arnowitz, she didn't leave you much, did she?
She got it covered.
Okay, Alderman Todd.
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, so the things that we described with the blank lines, that is just something you can fix, it's pretty easy. And then, anybody else have any problems with this board bill? Okay, I would entertain a motion that Board Bill 132 be passed out with a due pass recommendation, pending that they correct the errors in the bill and that we have a map attached.
I'm so moved.
Second.
Previous roll.
We can do previous roll?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we have a motion, a second, and a call for previous roll. Any objection to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 132 is passed out with due pass recommendation to be engrossed. The next board bill is Board Bill 137, sponsored by Alderwoman Lisa Middlebrook. The purpose of this bill is to conditionally vacate the following public streets and alley. Frederick Street, I'm not gonna read all of that, and let's see what else. And the petitioner is Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District, and the vacated area will be used to reduce sewage backup on private property and street flooding. Again, we wanna know who prepared these bills. This should have a map,
And Madam Chair,
yes.
I guess, I question fiscal note. Part of our charge is to have fiscal notes. Can we, if there is no fiscal note and there is not one required, can we have a note as to no fiscal note required because there's no cost to the city? Because I'm just wondering, is there any cost to the city on these?
No, this would be the
Okay.
sewer,
Oh,
but I
it's
hear
the
what you're
sewer.
saying, that way we wouldn't be looking for one, that we know that they had thought about a fiscal note, no fiscal note required. So can we have a form made up by, or do you want me to make a?
There is a form for the fiscal note.
I know, but I'm saying one that says, I guess we can use the fiscal note requirement and just say none required at the top of it, you know what I'm saying? So just took that, on that form, add a thing where they can check off no fiscal note required. That way it will be with all of them. We can let the whole board know that either you'll have a fiscal note or you'll have something said it's not
Attachment.
required. Right, we'll have that attachment to everything.
Okay.
But we'll just add at the top of it, so they can check off no fiscal note required. So then we'll have it, and then we'll be able to see
Got it.
that it's not required.
Okay.
And if it's.
I mean, even, since
Right.
there's no cost to the city,
Right,
no fiscal note required.
And this is with every board bill,
yes,
correct? Okay.
that way we won't be looking to see if we need one.
Right.
Right,
And I think it delivers consistency.
but this one should have had a map, because it talks about,
The geographic location.
right. And so, and I guess we can tell people that we need maps when it's referring to geographic location. Okay, Alderman, are you finished, Alderwoman?
I am.
Alderman Arnowitz, any other
No,
critique?
ma'am.
Alderman Todd?
No.
I do have one question, and I guess this indentation, is that because things were brought over from the previous, or?
Yes, if you look at a page, you're looking at page 2 of 5, correct?
Right.
And see, it was it was indentation, it was indented from page 1 of 5, and then it carried over, and then it came back out, and then they indented it again, that's why it's there. Okay,
I make a motion that we pass out Board Bill number 137 with a do pass recommendation.
Second.
Previous roll.
I'll entertain such a motion, we've had a call for.
With the map.
Right, we've had a call for, that we passed the board bill out, we have a second, and we have a call for previous roll. We are requesting that they have a map attached. Is there any objection to previous roll? Hear none, 137 is passed out with a do pass recommendation with the requirement that they have a map. And that we also know who, if not this time, because I don't know, if, I think we need to put out a letter saying that who prepared the bill, so we will from now on. Okay, and we'll put out a letter about the fiscal note thing, so it doesn't have to have it this time, but we will, I'm gonna put a letter out to everybody saying that
Okay,
that's
and
what should happen.
also the geographical location.
But the map we need.
Okay.
Because they do, whenever you refer to something about geographics, you're supposed to have a map so we can see what they're talking about. Okay, the next board bill is Board Bill 139, and this is introduced by Alderman Dan Gunther. Vacate the following public sidewalk, and it gives a location from Cherokee Street. I think it's on Cherokee Street. And the petitioner is Cherokee Residential Care Acquisition, AKA Cherokee Residential Care Real Estate. Said the vacated area will be used to correct the boundary lines along Missouri Avenue. Again, we should have a map with this one. Okay, so I'm looking at section 4, page 204. The owner is going to bear the direct cost of any removement of pavement or sidewalk, so there's not going to be a cost to the city.
But we do need a map.
Yes. And the owner has to put money with the comptroller's office to cover any of the costs.
That's fine.
Alderwoman Howard, do you have
I
any?
make a
questions?
motion that
Wait a
we-
minute, wait.
I have no further, other than
Alderman
the map.
Okay, Alderman Arnowitz,
None.
Alderman Todd.
No.
Okay, if we don't have any further questions, I'd entertain a motion that we pass Board Bill 139 out with the due pass recommendation with the inclusion of a map.
So moved.
Second.
Previous roll.
We have a motion, a second, and a call for previous roll. Any objection to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 139 is passed out with the due pass recommendation. But we want a map included, okay? Okay, and our last board bill is Board Bill 6, introduced by Alderwoman Shameen Clark Hubbard. And it's also to honorary street, Malik and Deborah Ahmed Way, which will begin at the intersection of Simple Avenue and Page Boulevard. So I guess it's Simple between Page and Arlington. Well, this is Nate. This for discussion with Alderman. They had attached something. I wonder where this came from.
The ordinance is attached.
I know, but I'm just saying, that's fine, but it also, we got a discussion for discussion with the Alderman. It was kind of interesting,
That came from Better Family Life.
but
I guess they,
please attach a general location map of the street. But the map disappears. Oh, this is pretty good, except for the map is missing. They got the petition. This is the correct way to do it, actually. Yep. Except for, I don't know, it says attach a map and then there's no map.
I think this, overall, this board bill is very thorough.
It is.
All we need is the map.
So Evelyn Rice did it, okay. So that might be part of it. Alderwoman Howard, do you have any other questions except for the map?
No?
Alderman Arnowitz?
No question.
Alderman Todd?
No.
Okay, I entertain a motion that we pass Board Bill 153 out with a due pass recommendation, requesting that the map also be attached.
So moved.
Second.
Previous roll.
We have a motion, a second, and a call for previous roll. Any objection to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 153 is passed out with a due pass recommendation, except for that we request that the map be attached. Okay, so we have come back to board bills. What did we hold?
120 for a substitute.
Okay, did we do 107?
We were waiting on,
Can we go see what's going on? Because these are both his bills, 107 and 120.
Are we still on?
Why don't we we're gonna take a 5-minute break, okay? I'll let her know. Okay, our 5-minute 5-minute break is up, and we were able to find the sponsor of Board Bill 120, Alderman John Collins Muhammad of the 21st Ward. And 120 is to prohibit employers in the city of St. Louis from using the box. It's called ban the box for short term. And there were several questions that committee members wanted to ask, so we were able to locate the alderman, and he is before us. Say your name, please.
John Collins Muhammad,
Alderman of the,
the great 21st Ward.
all righty, okay. Alderwoman Howard.
I guess my question is have you talked to the license collector about the enforcement of this bill?
Yes, I have. I have spoke directly to our license collector, her staff, and as well as our executive director of the Civil Rights Enforcement Agency. Both of those offices play a large and critical role in ensuring the enforcement and the implementation of this policy. So I have talked directly to both.
Okay, now, she has consented to enforcing this,
Yes.
and this is, how much is this gonna cost her?
Well, there is no direct cost into it. Her office is only in charge of examining the investigation from CREA. So there's no direct high crucial cost involved with this policy. Does she support the notion and the idea of this policy? Yes. Does she want it? Absolutely not. But the license collector cannot tell me nor us how to legislate or create policy.
The license collector is a county office.
Yes,
Do we
it
have
is.
purview over them?
Yes, we do.
Interesting. I just
It's
find
and
that,
I think it's important that we be technical and right clerical. It is not a county office. It is a county functioning office, but it is a city office inside the city of St. Louis. The Board of Aldermen does have legislative oversight over the office of the license collector.
but so we're charging her with an unfunded mandate.
I didn't know if you was asking a question, Alderwoman.
Are we charging her with an unfunded mandate?
No.
So what funds are we gonna provide for her to provide this enforcement? But you said she's not enforcing, but then in the board bill, it does say she's enforcing.
She enforces the policy, but she does not enforce the investigation of the policy.
Well, it says here.
Excuse me for a minute.
Okay.
So did Lou Golly give you a legal opinion, the city councilor? Did you get a legal opinion about this?
No.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Lou Gotti did help draft the board bill in its original content. After that, numerous conversations took place between me and the members of the legislation committee that was responsible for passing this out of committee. So numerous conversations took place, and we perfected the board bill over several times to meet legal obligations in the exact legislative language.
Okay, Alderman, and I would just wanted to, I understand what you're saying. The Rules Committee is charged with making sure that we have the proof about what's going on, okay? And a lot of times, it's a lot of mistakes, and they come from committee, and so we look for proof. So if Lou wrote the bill, we're gonna ask him if you could see it. Is he here?
I think so.
Okay, go ahead.
You want me to get them?
Either one, that's fine. Go ahead with your question, Alderwoman.
I mean, this is a noble endeavor, I believe in it, but I just think that we need clarity, because sometimes we put these things out there and we're charging people with mandates to enforce things, and there's no funds for that. And I think that if we're going to make laws, we need to make sure that there's a mechanism for enforcement. And I guess it says is the license collector shall be charged with enforcement, shall adopt rules and policy procedures for imposing penalties established in Section 3 for violations, and shall present such rules and policies to the Board of Aldermen Legislation Committee. I would like to have those attached to this, so that we have clarity.
The policies and fines have not been adopted because the legislation committee has not yet met with the license collector's office or CREA to decide what those policy and those fines or those
I would like to
penalties
recommend that
will
we
be.
have that to complete this bill.
way in the board, but that's how it was written when we perfected it. So
Okay, so let me interject a little bit. When we're asking for people to create, we won't have them before us because they haven't created them. You are correct about the other place you're going, but you will not ever have the policies and procedures when we're instructing them to do that because they have not been created yet.
Right.
So they can never be attached in any board bill. Okay, go
Okay.
ahead.
I guess we need a little more clarity about the license collector's involvement and the director of the Civil Rights Enforcement Agency, of just how this is gonna, and what cost it's going to cost them.
Did he say this one?
Here it is.
Okay. He's gone. You have any other questions?
That's all.
Do you have any questions? Okay, so I do have questions too. So, whenever you mandate that any, yes, sir, you can sit down there with the Alderman from the 21st. Whenever you mandate that somebody has to implement policies and procedures, that involves personnel cost, okay? And that's why I would have thought there would have been a fiscal note attached to that. I think we are going to need a fiscal note. I wanted the lawyer to hear that. So when you write board bills, he said you helped him write this board bill, which is 120.
For clarification, he helped me write the first original draft. Several drafts have happened since that first original draft that he had no involvement in.
Okay.
I do not personally trust the expertise or the
Okay,
workings of our. I'm being transparent. I do
Okay.
not trust the expertise or the workings of our legal counsel, so I do not work with him on board bills,
Okay.
personally or directly. So he did not have a hand in drafting this board bill. This was
Okay.
done with outside help.
Okay. But, so since he's here, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. So you're here when you draft board bills, because we have other ones that we need fiscal notes. In fact, we're going to require, our committee is going to require that everything have one of the fiscal notes attached to it, and we're going to add something to the form that says, if you check it and says does not need fiscal notes, okay? So that way we won't be asking, because we had some other ones that we passed out that we do like, that you put, when you do them, you say prepared by Lou Golly. We like that, okay? We want that on everything, okay?
If you would allow me, since we have had a full-time clerk come on, I have no longer been coordinating the fiscal note.
Okay.
That has been done between between Dr. Hollins and Terry.
Okay, okay, all right.
Can I also make clarification? Y'all have this is the wrong board bill.
Okay, because
This is not the proper legislative language. This was the one this is the second time around. It's not the one that passed out.
I said that. This is exactly what I told him. I said this because
This is wrong.
Okay, in
Am I
fact,
excused?
right. I beg your pardon?
Am I excused?
Please, wait a minute, don't be, but wait, I want to tell you, because on page 2 of 6, this says the Coloradians. Okay, so I told him I didn't think this was the board bill.
This is not it.
Okay. You're not, I just wanted your bill to come out. You're not, so that's why we checked, because there are errors, okay? Do you see now? You see for yourself. All right, yes, well, I don't want you to leave, because we still got to have your proper board bill before us if there's questions, okay? We're gonna have to take another short break here so we can get the proper board bill, but I told him I didn't think this was not the one I read. 2020 is becoming a hard year.
Already.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Golly. We will
very
talk
welcome.
with you later about, thank you, you gave us some more information. So I will talk to Dr. Hollins and the clerk about what's
Okay.
going on. Mhm. We are, the committee is out of recess again. We're starting back. We have before us Board Bill 124, substitute introduced by Alderman Collins Muhammad, Alderwoman Davis, and Gracia, and Clark Hubbard. It seems we had the wrong board bill before us, and so we have the corrected bill before us, and we need to take a minute to go through this bill. And then we also have the sponsor, the primary sponsor with us if we have questions after this.
Chair?
Hold on just a minute, please.
Okay.
Okay, Alderman Todd, are you? Okay, Alderwoman, Howard, you had questions?
I just have, we have several blank lines
Okay,
on
and the,
page 2, page 1 of 6. Line
Yes.
16 is blank.
right,
2 of 6, 20 and 21.
yes,
4 of 6, 6 and 12. And 5 of 6, 10 and 19.
yes,
Okay.
okay.
I
Anything
think
else?
that's right now, no.
Alderman Todd? I wanna go to page 2 of 6, and I'm re-offend on line 16. I don't know if that's correctly spelled or not, if that's correct. Can we do a spell check on that?
Reoffend?
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
I think that,
Maybe it should be a dash in there. I don't
right,
know.
exactly. It's, page 2 of 6, line 16.
And does society need to be capped?
Right. And, so this is more like what I read. I still do have questions about, when we, mandate that,
The cost?
the cost of doing something to the license collectors. It is already the Civil Rights Enforcement Agency job to, when complaints are submitted, so we're not giving them anything new or different, so we don't need anything from them. I would ask that the sponsor talk with the license collector to ask her what, if any, cost it would be for her to, issue these warnings, and require that whoever is the offender come into compliance. And she may say there's none, but we're, just ask her for what her estimates are so that we could have a,
A fiscal note attached.
fiscal note attached to it, right?
Can I also say, according to Board Bill 63, Committee Substitute as amended, that was passed by the Board of Alderman 2016, that requires board bills to have fiscal notes. It does say that that the fiscal notes are only appropriate when a board bill is directing the office to do something that current fiscal year. This directs the license collector office to do something in January 1st, 20 or 21. So in that fiscal year of 2021, it will be the duties of the Board of Aldermen to make sure that she has the necessary funds
Wait a
and
minute.
revenue to fund. the
Okay, wait a
effective-
minute, let me see here, this is, so
It's
where's,
It's page 6 of 6, line detail 1.
Line 1.
okay, cause I looked at 2020, okay, she'll be okay,
So,
Yes,
so
so-
it does not need it will only need a fiscal note if this was directing her to do it
that is
today.
correct. I looked at, that's good looking out, I looked at, after 2021. Okay, the Office of License Collector is directed to publicize compliance with this ordinance and its provision as a requirement and as a procedure for within the, so they only are allowed to publicize it after January 2020, but they're not required to do it until 2021.
Enforce it.
Okay, and then during that time, we should give her the money to do that. What do
Exactly.
you anticipate happens if we don't?
If we don't,
Yes, if we don't fund this.
I'm optimistic that we will.
Just asking, I hear what you're saying, and you are correct in what the bill says. So to me, that bill has a hole in it because we're directing people to do it. There's a problem with that. And then if we don't fund it, they're still gonna have to do it. But that is not your problem. That's the Board of Aldermen writing bad legislation. Okay, then you
Or
do
the
not.
budget director problem.
I beg your pardon?
It'll be the duty of the budget director.
No,
to
but
follow
if
law.
we're gonna ask for a fiscal note, then we should anticipate things
provide.
like this. So we wrote bad legislation, okay, that's what I'm saying. That was not good legislation. If it allows us to let people,
Put things off.
right, and then you have to do it and you've not
Still don't
looked at the
fund it.
fiscal costs, but okay. All right, so you don't need a fiscal note according to the ordinance. Any other questions? Then I'd entertain a motion that Board Bill 124 substitute be passed out of committee with the due pass recommendation.
So moved.
And can I say this real quick, just before we go?
Excuse me. Don't shoot yourself, we're getting ready to, okay, I'm gonna let you, but when your board bill is getting ready to move out. Okay, so, yes, you can.
Just in response to the Alderman from the 14th's concern about the policies and the penalties not being exactly laid out. On page 4, page 4 of 6 in section 3, it lists the penalties that could be
Right.
that
I
could
see
be
that.
fined,
Right.
and also in that same section, in
B.
subsection B, exactly.
I read
The
that.
policy, the license collector, the director of CREA, and the chair of the legislation committee will present those policies to the legislation committee, and it must be passed by that committee
Very good.
before before it goes on. So if the policies are not congruent or not based in legality, then of course that committee does not have to pass it, and it goes back to the drawing board.
Well, and as the chair said, we had the wrong bill before, so I was questioning the wrong.
That's what I, okay.
And that was our error.
Right. No, it wasn't, it was
It was an error.
Error, right. It's not the committee's error.
Right, but it was
she
an
was
error,
asking that,
so-
but this one is much better.
This one is cleaner and
Right.
provides a lot more information,
Right.
so.
But when your board bill is getting passed out, don't stop it, okay? Okay, we're in the middle, I'll let you do that, don't
So
do that,
moved.
let that out, so, we have a motion,
Previous
second,
roll.
did you do second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second, and we have a call for previous roll, any objection to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 124 substitutes passed out with a due pass recommendation,
All right.
okay?
Okay.
That is good work. That is how you do when people are incorrect. I don't have a problem with that. I believe in that you do your research. But don't ever stop your board bill when it's on the way to getting passed out, okay? All right. Okay. Are there any other things that we have before us? Seeing none, this committee is, what's the word I'm looking for?
Adjourn.
Beg your pardon?
Adjourn.
Adjourn, thank you.